รับกลับเข้าสู่งานของเรานะคะสำหรับหัวข้อนี้เนี่ยเราจะมาชวนให้ทุกท่านมาลองเขียน malware ด้วยกันนะคะมาดูว่าmalware นี่มันทำงานยังไงและเขียนยังไงได้บ้างนะคะก็ในหัวข้อนี้ชื่อว่า building your first malicious Chrome extension ค่ะขอเสียงปรบมือต้อนรับนะคะ big round of applause to welcome Mr. Alon Kiriati tech lead from Dropbox from Israel a big round of applause please
Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be today, just like a great conference. Thank you everyone for being here. So my name is Alon Kiriati, I'm from the Tel Aviv site, I work for Dropbox, and today we're going to talk about Chrome extensions. So just to know you guys better, I'd like to take a short poll and ask you which browser are you using? So let's raise hand. Who here uses Chrome? Anyone uses Firefox? Safari, anyone? Not much. Edge? Edge with Chromium? Any brave people here? Yeah, I see some brave people here. Cool. So this talk will be focused on Chrome, but you'll also be glad to know that even if you don't use Chrome, most of the browsers use the same API and the same architecture, so you'll be able to understand everything, except one browser. Any guesses which one? Shout out. So Safari, well, Apple do their own thing in their own way, so Safari will be clear today from this talk. So let's start. Well, my story starts a few years ago. I get this mail with this title. What a great extension. Well, I open up the mail, and I see this recommendation for extension that helps me render the code I'm writing in different browsers. Well, as a front-end developer, I thought, well, it's like something I really need. So I didn't think twice, and I downloaded the extension. Then I saw another extension that helped me measure the distance between 2 points on the screen. Well, another great extension. I went and downloaded this one. Another extension that helps me pick a color on the screen, and more 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 extensions. At the time, I thought that every extension is just another tool in my toolkit. So every extension will make me a better developer, a more efficient one. Well, until Hack Week came. So what is in Hack Week? Hack Week is an extended hackathon that we do at Dropbox twice a year. It's a 1 week that we can build everything we want. From new product, to business improvement, closing some tech debt, literally everything that we want. And in that Hack Week, I decided to build a Chrome extension that will help me manage my tasks better. Well, the extension was a huge success. It had a grand number of total of 1 download. Well, the only one who downloaded it was me. But from every success, or should I say success, you can learn some lessons. So the 2 lessons I learned during this Hack Week was the first one is how easy it is to build a Chrome extension. It only took me about 5 minutes to download a demo from the internet and run the extension. And it took something about 1 hour to 2 to build all the functionality that we want for our extension. So for the rest of the Hack Week, we can just add more and more and more features. Which leads me to the second point. The second lesson I learned is how powerful these extensions can actually be. So for every functionality and every feature that we added, we're surprised, really? Can extension do this? And then we added more functionalities, and really? Can extension also do that? So this is what we're going to do today. The first thing that we're going to do is build together a Chrome extension. Then we're going to take this Chrome extension and turn it into a malicious one. So the goals here, the first goal is to build an extension. The second goal is not to make you guys, not to turn you guys into malicious hackers, but to rethink extensions. Stop thinking about them as these cute tools that you add to your browser, but think about them as dangerous things that can harm your computer and your company. So let's start. So what we're going to build today is, I think it's pretty cool and something that can be really helpful for us. It's a tool, extension, that will help us do a currency conversions. So I pick here Amazon CLUK, just a random site. I'm not getting any commissions from them. So as you can see on the right top side, you can see the extension, and then once you click on it, so first we pick the product, which is a Kindle, just like a random one. And once you click the extension, you can pick your target currency, which in our case will be US dollars. As you can see, all the prices in pounds. So when we mark the price, it switches to dollars, as you can see. Cool. And also, if you're from Europe, for example, you can choose euros, and you mark the price, and it changes. Well, so let's start. But before we start, just a short disclaimer. So all the code you're going to see today in this extension will be pretty shitty. I'm sorry, just like want to make this one simple. So I'm not going to use any TypeScript, is 5.6, promises, letcons. Probably you saw all this in the other talks today. I really want to make this one simple. So even if you didn't write JavaScript in the last few years, you're going to be able to understand everything. Also, I'm not going to cover any edge cases. I know sometimes developers can be nitpicky. So I promise you there are tons of bugs here. Just trying to understand the concept. The code is less important. But it doesn't mean that you should write code like this, of course. Well, so what is an extension? An extension is just a zip file with one required file. This is the manifest.json, which is the glue for all the extension. It has all the configuration that you need. The permissions, all the files you're going to use, the name of the extension, icon, and so on. And then you can add more and more files. So let's see how it built. So it's built from two contexts. The first context is the core of the extension. It has two parts. The first part is the Popup HTML, so which will be the HTML that you see once you click the extension. And then you can also load more JavaScript files. The second part is a background.js, which runs always in the background. And it can interact with your browser and your extension. So let's see how it works. Let's write some code now. So as you can see here, it's only simple HTML, nothing that you haven't seen before. It has a header, which is a currency, then a drop-down with all the target currencies. And we also want to load a JavaScript. As you can see here, we want to sync between the HTML and the local storage to save the currency. So once the HTML loads, it loads JavaScript, and we take the value from the local storage. Once we make some change, we also save the value to the local storage. Cool. So also what we have in the background.js, we have the conversion function. The conversion function gets 3 parameters from currency to currency and amount, and it returns the new currency and the new amount. So as you can see here, it's a XML HTTP request to an external site that returns all the currencies. And once it's returned, we do some simple math just to make the conversion and return it back. So that's for the core context. But the more interesting, at least for me, is a content context. Because there you can actually interact with the user's browser. After the page finishes the load, you can run some of your JavaScript if you put it in a content.js. So this is how it looks like. So we have an event listener to the mouse app. Every time the user clicks the mouse, we get this event. We take the selection from the window, what the user selects. Then we parse out the amount and the currency. And once we have the amount and the currency, the next thing we want to do is call our conversion function. And inject the result back to the DOM. But we have some problem here. Well, we talked about two contexts. and we can't call directly from one context to another. So thanks to Google, we built this great mechanism of messaging. We can actually send message from the content to the background, from the content to the Popup.js, and vice versa, also on the other side. So let's see how it looks like. So on the standard side, which is the contents, once we have the amount and the currency, we send a message. So the first parameter is null, because we send the message to ourselves, to our extension. The second parameter is a message. So the first, just as JSON with a type, which is the type of the message, to get converted currency, the amount, and the currency. Then the last parameter is the callback. So in our case, once we get the response, we want to inject the result to the DOM, as you can see here. And on the other side, on the background JS, we want to receive the message. We check the header. And once we have the match, we can take the currency and the amount. We get the target currency from the local storage that we saved before, from the extension, from the dropdown. And we can now call the conversion function and inject the result to the DOM. Cool. So this is all the code that you need for our extension. As you can see, a very cool extension. We built it with only a few lines of code. That's all you need. So now let's see it all from the beginning. But this time, I'm going to show you the same demo, but I ask you to pay attention to the small details. Once this demo ends, I'll ask a question. Let's see if we paid attention to all the details. So let's see it now. Cool. Did you notice anything weird happening here? Someone maybe? Well, I'll show it again. This time, focus only on the URL top bar. So as you can see, I pick the product that I want. I press enter. And then something was added there. A tag with a unique identifier. This tag wasn't added by the user. Also, it wasn't added by Amazon. It was added by my extension. So what I'm doing here, I'm trying to abuse the programs that Amazon and other site has, which is called referrer or affiliate, where you can distribute a link to some product, and then you can get small amount of money from every time the user buys something. So I just used my extension to add this tag. So let's see now the code. So the thing that we're doing here, we use the event of onBefore request. We take the URL, we add the tag, and we redirect the user to the new site with the tag and our unique identifier. And it only works on Amazon now. Of course, I can extend this extension to also work with AliExpress, eBay. Most of the site has this affiliate program. And if you think this is not malicious enough, we can also go and maybe redirect the user to our shopping site. Or even more malicious and more evil, we can also redirect the user to a phishing site, steal their credential, and then hack their accounts. So let's take a look at another example. So you could probably see that we can listen to events, and we can also call an external API. So why not taking two of them together and do a classic key logging? So on the top, you can see the content.js. We just listen to every key event and send every time the user presses some key, we send the event to the background. And on the background, we take the key that the user pressed, and we send it to a malicious server. In my case, I built on top of a Firebase. So let's see how it works in practice now. So on the left side, you can see the user's browser. And on the right side, you can see my database, which is the Firebase database, the malicious one. So the user used the extension as usual, nothing to suspect here. Everything works as usual. But when they go into their bank account, as you can see, they put in their username and password. Everything is sent to the server, to my malicious server, with the best password ever, of course, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whenever you can, use this password. Cool. So if this hasn't frightened you enough, let's take a look at another example. Extensions can also take up pictures from your browser. So in this case, we use the event of going between changing the active tab. Every time the user changes the active tab, I'm taking a picture of the tab and send it to my malicious server. So let's see now an example. So on the left side, you can see, OK, so the user places between the tabs. As you can see, all financial data is sent as a picture, all your users' database, your private code from GitHub, your currency wallet, and the worst thing you can think about it, your embarrassing photos from Facebook. Yeah. There are some pictures you don't want to send to a malicious server, believe me. And in this case, you can even see that the extension is not even there. The user maybe hid it or even forgot that it's there, but it always runs in the background. Well, luckily or not, extensions don't want to steal a photo. What they really want to do is make money, of course. So how do they do it? The most common ways, I'm going to show you now. So the most common way is Adwares, taking advertisements and inject them to the DOM, to your DOM. The second thing is also collecting your data and selling it to our third-party companies. Also, they can steal your credentials, as we saw before, and of course, riding the trend of crypto. So they can mine like crypto from the background JS, and also trying to hijack transactions from the user. For some case, I don't know why, Monero seemed to be the most popular crypto. But the reason you don't see everyday malicious extensions is that we have the Chrome Web Store that protects us. And the Chrome Web Store uses the mechanism to try to find these malicious extensions. The first mechanism is automatic review that we do for every extension. The second one, which not always happen, is the manual review that you do to some suspicious extensions. And the third one is report from users, which is why it's very important to report an abuse if you see one. And with all those three, they get a great rate of 96.5 success rate. This is from 2015, and they're always trying to improve. Lately, I've even seen some rumors of they're trying to integrate machine learning to their system. I actually couldn't find any evidence for that, but I really want to say machine learning because it's cool. Everyone needs to say machine learning once in a lifetime. So I told you in the beginning that I'm not going to help you try to move over this one. I'm not trying to crack this Chrome Web Store, because first, it's not illegal, and my purpose is not to make you hackers. But from the past, I can tell you that extensions that did pass this review used 3 techniques. The first technique is remote code, loading your code from a remote server. The second technique is dynamic code, loading dynamic code, for example, in JavaScript, something like eval, and also using obfuscation. If you don't know, obfuscation is a process of making a code not readable for humans, but readable by machines. So also, Google launched some new update last year. So this is like trying to also close more gaps security in malicious extensions. So the first thing that they released is more user controls, moving more responsibility to the users. So now you can right-click an extension from Chrome 7T. You can right-click an extension and limit it to work only on specific site, or to never run in the background, for example. They also, from now, require you to only use narrowly scoped permission and not use more permission that you really need. They also restricted any use of obfuscation, as we saw before. So you can't use any more obfuscation. You can still use minify or things that will make your code more efficient, but nothing that deliberately make your code unreadable. They also require you to use two-step verification just to make sure that your extension is not hijacked by malicious hackers, and then they can push their malicious code. And also, they added the manifest v3, which should make a huge revolution on the way permissions are built. So I'm not going to talk more about this. It's like a huge subject. You can go and read about more. So this is not going to end any soon. Like, it's going to be like an endless race of a mouse and a cat and a mouse. So the extension, the hackers will try and find more and more ways to hack the extensions and find more ways to push malicious code. And Google will find more ways to close these gaps. So it's not going to end in the near future. So this moved the responsibility towards us, the users. And maybe we can stop thinking extensions are these cute tools that we add to the browser and start thinking about them as programs. Instead of thinking about them as we're adding an extension, think about installing an extension. So once you install a program, all the word of the software that we know today is relevant. So how can you protect yourself? Same as you protect from every software. Before you install anything, make sure that you absolutely need it. Don't install something if you don't really need it. Also, before you install something, review, check for stars, users, check for the publisher, if it's a company you know or not. Remove every extension that you don't use anymore. Turn off extension that you temporarily don't use. Limit, as we saw a few slides before, if you need an extension to a specific site, only limit the extension to work on this site. And you can also use multiple profiles in Chrome. For example, you can use one profile for all the development and then have all the crazy extensions, but don't load any private data there. And then have like one profile for all your private data, but don't have any extension there. So you can always play with multiple profiles. And also, most of you are probably developers, so you have a bonus part. You can read the code and report extensions when you report malicious extensions when you see them. So that's all. But what's next? So as you see, go and build your extension. It's just a zip file with a manifest, one required file with a manifest. And also the rest of the extension is HTML and JavaScript as you know it. Second thing, rethink extensions. Stop thinking about them as these cute tools that you add, just like add to your browser. Once this talk is over, I'd be happy if you take a few minutes, look on the extension that you have, remove the ones you can't, and next time before you add an extension, think twice. The most important thing, be good. Take everything that you saw today, play with it locally, but don't distribute it to anyone. And if you're not sure if it's legit or not, you can always read the policies. They're very clear. This was just the tip of the iceberg. There are much to read here, so you can read more about permissions model, all the mitigation, how Google finds the malicious extensions. You have like tons of information about it. So that was me. Alon33 at Gmail, Kiriati at LinkedIn, Kiriati at GitHub, and Alon at FreeCodeCamp. And really, I'd really like if you have like some questions. I'll be near the QA for the next few minutes. I really welcome any questions or in one of these means. Well, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Kiriati. So he's going to stand by at the Q&A room. The Q&A room is just south of this theater and turn right. You will see the Q&A room. เดี๋ยวคุณคิริยตินะคะก็จะไปสแตนบายรออยู่ที่ห้อง Q&A นะคะก็คือออกจากเธียเตอร์ของเราแล้วหันขวาก็จะเจอเลยนะคะถ้าไหนมีคำถามอยากรู้เพิ่มเติมนะคะอยากคุยส่วนตัวก็เรียนเชิญได้เดี๋ยวเขาจะรออยู่สักพักหนึ่งนะคะออกไปแล้วก็ไปคุยกับคุณคิริยติเสร็จแล้วเนี่ยกลับมาก็มาฟังกันต่อได้